Today, Jim Miller is back in these fighting streets for UFC 300 as he steps in the octagon with King Bobby Green. And what about the BMF championship being on the line when Justin Gaethje defends against Max Bless Holloway at UFC 300? All of this and more on today's episode of Matter of Fact MMA. What's up? What's happening? Let's go. We right back at it. We right back with it. Coming to you with a little quick video about two more fights signed for UFC 300. So, what we just had signed, we already knew was going to happen, and that is the legend, the OG, Jim Miller, will step in the octagon at UFC 300. He has competed at 100. He's competed at 200. And now he's stepping in there for 300. Jim Miller will step in the octagon with King Bobby Green. So, here's the thing, man. Happy for the fight. Outstanding fight. I must say that I probably would have rather seen Jim Miller versus Paul Felder. I would say I didn't mind the fight with Matt Brown, but I didn't know how that was going to work because it was going to be at 170, and I don't know what Jim Miller would look like at 170. So here's the thing, man. Shout out to Bobby Green for taking this fight. I know he spoke about he would really like to fight at UFC 300. I know he spoke about fighting Jim Miller. I hope that he's well from his last KO loss, because that was a vicious KO due to the strikes he took after being knocked out. But there it is, man. You know, King Bobby Green stepping in the octagon with Jim Miller. I think that's going to be a really good fight. Jim Miller definitely can keep the fight standing, or he could definitely go to the ground. We know he's an outstanding wrestler. We know he's an outstanding grappler. You know, the thing is Bobby Green is very comparable when it comes to wrestling defense and grappling defense, and he can do both as well if he needs to. So I think this will be a really good fight. I'm hoping that Bobby Green is not, or he hasn't become chinny. Because shout out to Jim Miller, but I would hate to see a chinny Bobby Green just get laid out in front of the UFC 300 audience. But if that's what it is, so OG Jim Miller gets a win, then that's what it is. I'm not making a pick right now because I'm a fan of both men. But shout out to Jim Miller for pulling off this feat. Let's hope that his training and everything goes well so he doesn't get injured, because I would just love to see that story of him being able to fight at all three of those 100 pay-per-views. So that's pretty awesome to see. Shout out to Bobby Green for taking the fight. Now, let's move on to the smorgasbord of violence, to the bushel of brutality. Let's move on to just the parfait of punches that we're about to get with Max Bless Holloway stepping in the octagon with Justin Gaethje for the BMF title. Here's the thing, man. I'm not really too much worried about the BMF title being on the line or not being on the line, whatever the case is. I know that it is, but that's not really the selling point for me. That's kind of like the selling point for the casuals. Bro, this is a fight that I've wanted to see for like probably the last year and a half, because I believe it was roughly about a year and a half ago that this was ever thought up or thrown out into the MMA sphere, you know, about these two fighting. It's definitely been in the works for Max Holloway to move up a weight class for like the last 2 or 3 years. You know what I'm saying? Ever since all the losses he took to Alexander Volkanovski, it's definitely been in the works for him to move up to lightweight. So we're finally getting that accomplished. It's getting accomplished the right way. You know, when he moved up to face Dustin Poirier quite a few years back actually by now, that was on like, I think 6 weeks notice. It did not give Max Holloway enough time to beef up, you know, put on any muscle mass or anything for 155 pounds. He just kind of, basically cut less weight and went in there and fought Dustin. And he had a fairly good showing, but Dustin kind of took him to that woodshed, Dustin beat him like he stole something. You know what I'm saying? Dustin was like, bro, what? And just beat him like he stole something. You know what I'm saying? It was still a good fight. It was good to see Dustin win that fight, but that's kind of what it was. And you can't hate Max Holloway because he's always down to chase greatness. I mean, the man was going to fight Khabib in Khabib's prime on short notice, you know what I'm saying? So, this is a man he is not to be trifled with, you know what I'm saying? The cojones is large, if you know what I'm talking about. So, bro, so now we got Max Holloway, Justin Gaethje, stepping in the octagon. And I mean, this is going to be a great fight for what could happen afterwards. Of course, if Justin Gaethje goes out there and he beats Max Holloway, then the UFC can have, they can have Makhachev fight someone else to defend the title in between Justin Gaethje getting a shot. But Justin Gaethje for sure is getting a shot at some point. You know what I'm saying? So after Ramadan and everything, if they don't line up Gaethje, Makhachev after that, in the summer or in the fall, or, send them to Abu Dhabi, whatever they want to do, he's definitely getting the shot if he goes out there and he puts away a legend like Max Holloway. So that's for sure. I'm always down to see any sort of a Justin Gaethje fight. I mean, the man, he truly is the human highlight reel. You know what I'm saying? On all levels, the man goes in there with a war mentality. He's going in there to do damage. He's going in there to take souls, take names. He's taking everything. You know what I'm talking about? But let's not sleep on Be Blessed, the Blessed Express. You know what I'm talking about? Max Holloway, other than Alexander Volkanovski, has not shown any chinks in his armor. Now, I know for a fact that eventually that chin is not going to hold up for Holloway. That chin has been holding up for years, but I know that it's only a matter of time before that chin goes because he's taking so many shots. But when you look at it, man, this puts new life and new blood at 155 pounds. For as long as Volkanovski is the champion at 145, and we'll see what happens when he steps in there with Topuria, bro, Max Holloway, he's a sitting duck, so to speak. There's not a lot that he can do because, he's still winning fights. He could still go in there and fight for the featherweight championship, but it's just not going to happen against Volko. So what are you going to do? You know what I'm saying? So him going up to 155, this injects new life into his career and also into that division. You got Dustin stepping in there with Benoit Saint Denis. You know what I'm saying? That's going to be a good fight. I'm so happy to see that. I want to see what goes down with that. But Dustin's not going to do this for much longer. All right? You got Michael Chandler kind of toying around with Conor McGregor. No one knows what weight class Conor McGregor is going to fight at. I believe it's probably going to be 170 or 155. That's kind of up in the air. And Michael Chandler's going to follow depending on what weight class his fight with Conor dictates. Then you got Makhachev. You got Sarukian. You have a lot of good fighters in that weight class. But also, you have a lot of fighters that haven't made it to the tip top yet, like Fiziev, who you can't tell me you wouldn't want to see Max Holloway versus Fiziev. You know what I'm saying? Bro, Max Holloway versus Fiziev. You can't tell me you don't want to see that fight. Max Holloway versus Benoit Saint Denis. You can't tell me you don't want to see that fight. How about this? I wouldn't mind seeing a rematch at this point in their career. Max Be Blessed Holloway stepping in there with Dustin Poirier. Bro, that's just what it is. There's a lot of great matchups. I wouldn't mind seeing Max Holloway and Sarukian, to be honest with you. There's a lot of good matchups in that division. And Max Holloway is a welcomed addition. And it makes for a major super fight if he does put together some wins at 155 and they give him a shot at Makhachev. You know what I'm saying? Maybe he would have been the guy to beat Khabib. I don't think he would have been, but at the same time, you know, throw him in there with Makhachev. Let's see what happens. I'm down for it. Are you down? I am. So that's what it is, man. So shout out to the UFC, Dana White, Sean Shelby, Mick Maynard, whoever had their hands in making this, Ari Emanuel, whoever had their hands in TKO, Vince McMahon, Triple H, whoever had a hand in making Max Holloway versus Justin Gaethje. I'm down for it. So I just want to come on there and react to these two fights. Outstanding additions to UFC 300. I know that Bellator / PFL just announced a big joint card. I'm actually going to be doing a video, probably be coming out either tomorrow, more than likely, if not tomorrow, on Friday, that's going to discuss what we're going to be looking at for UFC 300. Probably what we're going to be looking at UFC 299, as well as I'm going to cover what they're offering at this Bellator PFL show. So that video is definitely coming to you this week. If I don't have it ready for you by tomorrow, it'll be ready for you by Friday. But nevertheless, man, Justin Gaethje, Max Bus Holloway, BMF title on the line, UFC 300, and the legend, the OG, legendary Jim I Am Legend Miller stepping in the octagon with King, the OG King, Bobby Green. So shout out to the UFC for making these fights. Again, guys, please like, subscribe, comment. Let me know what you think. Are you excited about these fights like I am? At least are you excited about Gaethje versus Holloway? Let me know what you think. Let me know who you got in both fights, who you're picking to win. Again, I want to thank you guys for watching these episodes, watching my show. And I want to thank you for joining me for another episode of Matter of Fact MMA. And I'll check you next time. Peace.